Show me what you get done to your car, man.
Yeah.
You're going right forward, aren't you? You must be having some fun, aren't you?
I go in spurts. Like I have. How do you put it? Every up to a certain point, I sand. Oh, this is working, and I'll stay until I kind of get that stage done. And anyway, I got the fenders on the car. And the bolts are tight.
I seen that.
The door looks, the gap, everything looks presentable. But now I got to take the fenders back off and paint and undercoat all the inner stuff. And I fitted my chrome. The chrome, of course, had been banged up, and I straightened it a year or two ago.
Yeah.
When I took it off, it was banged up, and I painstakingly straightened out the nickel. Like little tiny screwdrivers, hammers, and different clamps. And
does it look good?
One chrome piece got caught. Somebody walking by it, and kinked and pulled it right off the car. Kinked it and bent it around the other way. And then
they must have been walking in a hurry.
Oh, it just caught on your clothes while you're walking by.
I know, but you'd be walking
unhooked. In a hurry. Anyway, when it got straightened back out, it bent in a new place. So it got bent this way, and then it got bent that way. So it was two totally different bends, and I straightened it. I hammered it all back straight.
Would you? You're doing your body work. Would you be interested in a DA?
That's a sander.
Yeah.
The reason why I do it by hand.
I'm not asking. I'm just asking. Would you be interested? Because I might have one over there.
I don't know.
Electric. That way there you wouldn't have to run the air compressor, right?
Yeah.
Electric. And they're just, it's a DA. You must use a DA before.
They do have their place, do they? Don't they?
I use them for everything.
I know.
But
yes.
I've got good at it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Using it, but
I have a DA, but I found it was one that is really bulky and high.
Yeah.
It's higher than wide.
These ones are heavy.
Well, this one, it's not heavy, but it's real bulky and really high, and it's higher than it is wide. And it takes two hands to use it because it'll scar the work.
Oh wow.
It'll fall over. It's kind of like it reminds me of an upside down iceberg, or one of those great big luxury liner boats where they're so Jesus huge. How come they don't just sink? Because,
yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? Like the thing's too big, and quite often when you're doing body work, you're in around things where the bulkiness doesn't work.
I understand. When you get used to doing by hand, it's hard to change.
I do things by hand because the dust falls right there.
Yeah.
If you're doing it with a machine, the dust isn't there. It's more like this. That was covered up, but the wind blew it off. But come on in. I'll let the camera lady go first.
We didn't bring them lights. Damn it.
Lights.
Yes, we got
lights
some.
Lights are critical. This is the darkest spot in the entire barn, too. Oh, the light bulb that I do have is on.
Oh, you got some primer on it?
No, that's
that's filler.
Yeah, that's
okay.
Dark as hell.
Dark as hell. You got a light bulb right there, bud.
Yeah, that doesn't shine down here, but yeah.
Light up my life. Huh?
Oh, there is a trouble. Oh, there's the trouble light. Oh, you have the light turned on that thing? No, you don't.
Jimbo soon run this thing up the road. That gives a little bit of light.
It even feels cold in there today, and it's 55 degrees. But anyway, it's presentable.
It is.
And here's my chrome. You can see that one was bent right there.
Yeah.
But this is the one. Yeah, this is the one. This got caught on clothes and got bent out, and then straightened out. So it bent out here and it bent back here. And I hammered and straightened all this out.
Looks good.
Now, if I sanded that,
And polished it.
if I sanded that, it would take like a month. A month. Just that's stainless steel. It doesn't sand good. And when you do sand it, the scratches stay forever. So you've got to go extra fine and just put in the time. Because the Studebaker chrome, all the nickel, I straightened all the dents. And in the wintertime, it was too cold out here. And I sat by the wood fire, watching TV, sanding with 2500 grit sandpaper for 2 months straight. And I got every spot on the Studebaker nickel gone. And it looks like I sent it away to a professional and had it buffed.
Well, you are a professional then.
Yeah, but it was dented up like this. But anyway, this fits on. Some of the clips are still here. Those are bolts.
Hard.
All nuts.
Isn't that
all bolts? Every one of them.
Isn't that something? You take the fender
nuts
off.
on the back, and you can't get your hand in there. You got to
take the fender off.
You got to take the fender off. Anyway, that fits on there like that.
Right
And
there,
as I said, that
fits nice.
yes.
Yes, he says.
Yes, and it didn't. I had to do a little more sanding to get that in, and the other one on the other side fits as well. But those were both bent, all bent, destroyed, like no good, like throwaway bent, and I straightened them out.
Well, I knew where to send my stainless then.
Oh, it's a drag. The stuff does not bend good, right? Like nickel does not, like that stainless steel, it is hard. And you can't, the sanding, if you sand out a little mark. Matter of fact, just the back side, like the chrome that is usually around windshields, you know, the flap that bends around.
Yeah.
If you stick a screwdriver in there and you go like this to bend that flap out, you put a little bullseye dent on the outside where you see it. You had to put a little piece of sheet metal in there to act as a cushion for your screwdriver so you don't dent the outer visible stuff to straighten out that lip on the inside.
I know exactly what you're saying.
And if you don't, you get that little dimple there that ruins chrome, and you can't get that out. You've got to grind it off and then spend a month with fine sandpaper and sand out your little scratches that stay in there. Like the nickel is hard to work with. But anyway, I'm not trying to talk that much.
Well, that's what it's all about. You don't want to talk to me, and I come see you.
Shut up and let you talk. But anyway, I got this very good enough. It's actually ready to paint. It's scratchy. Like it's 40, 80, 60 grit scratches and hardly any 80.
Take a piece of 220, just rub it by hand right quick.
Oh no, the scratches are still there. In order to sand, it goes back to that roll YU prime.
Yeah.
Because if I cut this body fill down to 220, all the metal spots will poke out, and I had to put a coat of body fill over the whole thing.
I just sanded like by hand.
The scratches are deep, but it is scratchy. Like it could. Anyway, it's ready to paint, but I got to take the fenders off and paint all the inner stuff and undercoat it a bit, and then put them back. Then put my chrome on and paint. I'm going to paint the fenders off. That way I can put the chrome on and then put the fenders back on.
Gotcha.
But the inner fender that went in here.
Darker blue or lighter blue?
I got some darker blue, which I'm going to mix with my lighter blue to see if I can get it closer.
Okay.
But those are the inner fenders I took out.
Right.
That's what caused the fenders to go on almost impossible. I had to hammer the fenders on each time, and they came off like it was terrible. But anyway, with those, go up in after, but I might need extra hands, because if I'm in here inside pulling that fender back and forth to line up with the bolts, the screws that go in through here, there's half a dozen screws, so I need someone out there with the screws and the screwdriver, and I'm in here pulling the metal back and forth so the holes line up, because I can't be on both sides.
When's that happening?
After, when it's going back together.
You let me know.
After everything's painted, the chrome's on, and paint it, undercoat it, and paint it.
You let me know.
But
I'll give you a hand on that.
But I'm very happy with the final results of my door gap, and that
Means a lot, doesn't it?
yeah,
Huh?
like considering I did a 30-40% job and it looks like a 60 or 70. That's good, because I didn't do a 70% job trying to make it look like a 90.
Yeah.
I did it, you know, like as I said, it's like I didn't waste too much time on it, but yep.
Looks good. We've been watching.
That's kind of what it's. But this was dented in here.
Yeah.
And I put a block of wood, a piece of angle iron, rest it from a high spot here to a block of wood, and then I used C-clamps in there in that round circle of the flange here.
Yeah.
And just tightened a couple pairs of vice grips or C-clamps back and forth. Then took it off, and that pulled that edge right up.
Awesome.
Because I couldn't hammer it. It was every time I'd hammer.
Come right back at you.
It was just bang, 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 like hitting a drum.
Huh?
But the two now one
The
clamp
little drummer
won't do
boy.
it. One C clamp won't do it. You have to have one tight, and then the next one goes in, and it'll tighten. Then you go back to this one and go back and forth, and it crushes. Anyway, it pulled that right out, and I didn't even have to take pliers and straighten out the edge. It kept it square. And pulled that flange right out so that it's like presentable.
This little gully here is nice for you when you want to get down at the bottom of the door, eh? You're down there and the car's...
It's awkward for walking.
I understand that
Yeah,
part,
because
but...
it's slant.
Yeah, but it's nice to get down
Yes.
to... Yeah.
Yeah.
So how far are you going on, Jimbo?
This is it.
This is it?
As far as the fenders. They're ready to paint.
No,
The
but I
chrome
mean,
has to go
how
on.
far are you going on the car? Are you
Oh,
going...
I got to weld the bottom of the door in.
Oh, you're going back there,
And
right?
then I'm going to fix the quarter panel.
Okay.
But I'm not painting any of the top.
Okay.
Now, there's a couple dents in the hood that I might fix, and the spot where it caught on fire once, I think I'll eliminate that, get that out of there. But and the front of the hood. But I'm not actually painting. I'm not painting the car at this time. I'm painting from here down. I'm even leaving.
You heard him, Jolene. What do you think? We'll see a video next week.
It's only going to be one coat.
Oh, put some coat.
You know what I mean?
Put
Like,
that paint right to her, man.
One or two coats.
Put
'cause
that
it's
paint
flat
right to her.
paint. It's flat paint.
No, this side looks good. You know
And
something? I will give you credit. That quarter panel and everything looks good and straight.
It's got the same. It's high quality, the same as the fenders.
High quality.
Yeah, relatively square.
And you put 60% in it and you got 100%?
No.
Oh.
I put 30% in and got a 60.
Okay. No, that looks good. That doesn't it? To me, that looks good. You look down inside that
Now,
quarter
what's
panel.
bad is when you put 100% and you get a 50.
I'm talking this right here. Like that looks
when
good.
You barely pass when you've used everything.
That all
you've
looks
got.
good. All on there.
That took a little bit of elbow grease, like a little bit of rubbing.
That's why they call it body work.
Yeah, it didn't. In the end, I had to actually work fairly hard to get the line. You know, it was a little stubborn. And the weirdest thing, no matter how careful you are when you're putting body fill on and working it, look what happened in the end. I put 1, 2, 3. I put 5 coats there, and shouldn't have, to get that.
Well,
right?
that's what happens.
But by the time I finally got to blocking, I had to take all that fill back off. Like you can see the layers.
Yeah.
I had that too high, but when it was on the bench, because I did that when it was on the car.
Yeah.
When it was on the bench, it gave me the illusion that yes, I had to keep putting it there. When that wasn't that wasn't the low spot. This was the low spot, and yet I kept putting it there.
Yeah.
And kept hitting that. And anyway, when I put it here, it had a bulge, so I tightened it.
Hitting the weld mark.
You know, but it's still a little low here and here. But
If you didn't tell anybody, we wouldn't know.
right, and, yes. But anyway, that kind of freaks me out. And I had the same problem with the quarter panel.
Yeah.
By the time I was done, I was cutting body fill off in 2 or 3 layers that I just all but finished putting on to in between the spots that I thought was high and low. I was putting it on the high and ended up taking it off.
I think I was. I don't know. We were talking yesterday about when I'm doing body work now. Before I will sand that, I'll put a cloud of body fill in and I'll rub it with my hand, see if there's any low spots. Then I'll go mix some more body fill up and put it in the
low spot.
In the low spot.
While it's still, while it's rough.
Yeah, but before I even start.
I know.
And I won't sand or nothing because it's thick. You can't get it apart.
No. No. All that matters is you get the dust off.
Yeah.
Like
if you've sanded it, yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just kind of keep going with it until it feels like it's all full. And then start sanding it.
I'm starting to realize when you're putting the fill on and you're sanding it with 40 grit and the spatula marks are there and you rub your hand, it kills your nerve endings because it's so rough. And you can't really get a real accurate line. And then as you sand finer, you can feel it because you can feel the surface instead of the roughness. And that's why I get the highs and the lows in the end, I think. But
no, that all looks good.
It's at the stage where it could easily have your top quality, thick, heavy-duty primer put on like a whole gallon and then block it. Because if you sand that down anymore, the highs are going to be like the metal spots are going to bulge out, and then the whole panel is going to take twice as much primer to bring it back, or spot putty, or more body fill.
I'm calling that the ocean floor.
Yeah,
you don't want to see that.
I know.
As soon as you see that, you want to stop because your flood's over.
Yes, and you can't get any of the scratches out after that. The scratches are irrelevant at that point.
See, I used to think when you'd have a dent there, a little dent there, and a dent there, you'd try to fill that little dent, try to fill that little dent, and try to fill that little dent. Instead of doing that, I coat them all now.
Yeah.
And that way there...
It's a good idea sometimes your first batch to fill those.
Yeah.
And then cover the whole thing.
But what you must understand, if you got metal showing around fill around there, and you got metal showing around your fill there, and you got metal showing around your fill there, you have a chance for a boo-boo there, you have a chance for a boo-boo there, and you have a chance for a boo-boo there.
Yeah.
And if you cover all of them, you more or less have a chance for one boo-boo, like to make it look maybe a little wrong.
Well, it's like when you're filling in a spot where you're welding. You blob your body fill on according to how much you need before you level it.
Yeah.
So if you got an extra bad Ripley spot here that's going to take twice as much as here, you put in your blob twice as much there before you go and do your first initial wipe through. And that's kind of a pretty serious guide.
That's the hardest thing to get on to when you first start is putting the mud on and getting it in the spot.
Because when you put it on sloppy, it makes for extra work.
It does. It does. Yeah, sure does.
And the better you put it on, like if you can put it on in one coat heavy enough, perfectly smooth, so that you just scuff it off and it's done, that would be pretty professional.
Yes.
Like usually I don't. I always have it. It always starts going into that soap opera of two highs and two lows, back and forth.
I got you.
And the lows usually stay too low until the very end.
Yeah. No, it looks good though. This side looks really good. It looks really good.
Oh yeah, the quarter panel.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
you're gonna leave the mold on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe down, people say.
Close your hood down, Jim. Show what the mold looks like.
My plan.
That wouldn't be called mold.
My plan can change.
Yeah. So do mine all the time. Yeah. What's this stuff?
This is the first time.
Is that mold or what is that?
It's from sitting under trees for 20, 30 years.
It's got some kind of growth on it.
And it's been there for like a lifetime. But I was actually I'm not sure how far I'm going to go.
I like the blue you sprayed with the white. I don't know.
Maybe what I'll do is some will be. I'll spray some on it, the lighter, and then mix up one more little batch of the closer to this color and spray around a little bit so I have the textures of the 2 or 3 different blues.
I'm not sure. Are you putting the flames back on it?
Maybe.
I can't wait to see that. I'd like to see that. That looked good.
Yeah, I'm going to
Car's come quite a ways from the last time that it was back there behind the Studebaker. Did it not? It's come quite a ways.
I got
Oh, you got the vice grips underneath there for gap.
yes, but if you notice, I'm gapped here and it's hitting here, and it's hitting here and gapped here, which means, oh, that's when the fender finally gets bolted on. I guess it pulls it up here and down. Like I might be close. I might supposed to be closer to the bumper here, and well, the fenders do twist a little bit, but that's by the time I get the front end tightened up and lined up with the hood, because I never really did any work up here. So the fenders do, like if the fender's off and I'm holding on to the front, and you're holding on to the back, we can twist it. So that's what's going on.
Will you just give me a holler when you think you're ready for that to move that around? Just give me a holler. We're getting the power hooked up today for the new shop. Just getting hooked up today. So there's power trucks and
and you're gonna have
all over the place.
You're gonna have your computer going on the wall.
We'll put a TV on the wall and everything. Yeah. We might even put a couple chairs in there, if you know what I'm trying to say.
But anyway, that's the bolt right there that gave me the hard time, because the fender has to loop. This goes in here, right there, like that. And the fender has to bolt through here, but has to cup over here, and that part jammed on the bumper and this. So this goes in after.
You torch welded that little piece on there? Obviously.
No, just around the edge was gone. But I torched welded this piece on there.
That now, would you? He's a bad cat with the torch.
But these were bent all to pieces. Like the bottom was kinked.
Yeah.
And I had to straighten it all out.
Did you heat that up before you did that?
This was kinked real bad. I heated it up. Actually, I heated it up, and it was so thin and wobbly and flexy that I couldn't get the kink out. So I welded a bead as I had it clamped down and in shape, and then I just ran that bead of weld here, which held it in place. Plus, heating it allowed to take the tension out of the kinks, so that it didn't come back, and it worked.
That looks good.
But
what's that piece?
That's my radiator support.
Okay, you made that then.
Yeah.
Put that that top piece on there. That looks good.
But
you're giving her.
Yeah, the fenders are, it's a hell of a job to put the fenders on. So
I would say any of these 50s cars are
hell of a job. By the time you're done and you got the hood fitted and all the screws and bolts are all in tight and everything lines up and the chrome's on and the hood fits, it's quite a big job, and it's hard by yourself. It's quite a big job. So the next time the fenders come off, I'm going to be painting them inside and out and put the chrome on and paint and undercoat what I can inside here. Then I'll need a hand putting the fenders back on, and by the end of the day all the bolts will be in and it should line. I'm hoping
lined up before. It lined up before.
And I didn't do any work to them.
Right.
I only worked on this corner.
Yeah.
So
it's like nowadays when you put a fender on, you pull the bolts out, you put the fender on, you put the bolts back in. These all have shims and can be moved, and
well, the whole front end of the
you could spend a day.
There's no support.
Yeah.
It's all this whole fender from here ahead bolts on to the inner sheet metal fender only. There's no support. It doesn't have a fender support. It's the inner fender. This is what holds. That bolt right there is the only bolt that holds the whole part here. And then there's a bunch of screws that go in through here to the inner fender here.
It must connect to the rad support somehow up here.
Yeah, before we close the hood, you could see it. There's an inner fender that goes here. This is just the divider that bridges the inside to the outside and keeps the mud away from the headlight.
Yeah.
So, but this was the reason why it was so hard to put the fender on and off. So I took it off. I only had to put this on once. When I was putting the fenders on and off, trying to get everything right, and this was making it totally impossible. But now the fenders go on and off easy. But when this goes in, this is going to be a hard job getting those screws all lined up. But after it's on and done, it only has to go on once. And
well, maybe can you put the fender? Can you leave it when you put the fender on first, and then put that on after?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Take the tar off, and it goes right up in there, and then the screws go in. Yeah. But it only had to do it once.
Only have to do it once. That's when you're finished.
Yeah. But yes, when Buddy that bought that Chev truck, he dropped in right immediately after I wanted to move the passenger door ahead 1/16 of an inch, or sort of.
Yeah.
So I took the inner door panel off.
you were fine liner then, when you 1/16 of an inch.
Well, it was touching on the bottom, and it was 1/16 of an inch at the top, and I wanted it 1/16 of an inch on the bottom and 1/8 of an inch on the top. So I wanted the door to come ahead, and while the fender was adjustable, I wanted it to move that door ahead away from the quarter panel, just a smidgen. So I took the inner door panel out, and loosened off all the bolts, and you know what happened? Door go boom, down, it dropped. And then I had no way of prying it up into place and tighten the bolts. And he showed up, so he was outside with the pry bars, and I was inside with the wrenches, and I told him what I wanted, and he pried it there, and we got the door to go ahead a 32nd of an inch. That's all it had. The hinge, the door would have to come off, and I'd have to take a die grinder to the hinge and oval out the holes farther if I wanted more, which no one wants to do that.
It's pretty close, isn't it?
It was closer. But the door will not go ahead. The hinge here needs, anyway, if I want a little bit of gap, I just grind the edge of the door off, since I had to fix the whole bottom of the door's gone anyway. On the other side, also, I can't remember which side of the car, but you had, when I was all done and fit it, the quarter panel, the new patch stuck out.
Yeah.
It stuck out, and it had a little too much of a slow curve in it. So I took my mini grinder and I cut a slice right down it and pulled it over, hammered it, and re-welded it and brought it in square. Like you said, like if the quarter panel's off, just cut it and move it. Well, your patch was off a little bit here. By the time I hammered and pulled this dent out, because there was a dent here, by the time I did all that work, the bulge, your patch had a little bit of a curvy bulge in it. So I sliced it and shrunk the metal in, and it took 2 or 3 attempts, but you got her. I got it in the end.
Well, I'm quite amazed that you took it this far. I wasn't expecting you to take it that far, to be honest with you, but it is what it is. There
is a chance, long before this car is finished, that I'll be done. Know what I mean? Like, I have a problem. Too many cars to put on the road, and I don't build cars to have them. I build them to drive. So, like, by the time and the Ferrari this summer, I'm going to want to drive that. I also want to drive the Plymouth Laser. I want to get my Studebaker truck, the engine, built this winter, so I'll want to drive that next summer. And
you'll be full-time on the road, buddy.
Yes, and I don't spend that much time driving, and I can't afford the insurances and the apparatus of the registration for all this. So
I like building them better than driving them.
I like driving them. I like driving. I build to drive. So, but this has brakes, and while Yeah, I'm a little bit like you when it comes to enthusiasm. Whatever you get your eyes set on and you're able to go in that direction and start hammering and welding and doing your thing, that's where you are. And as soon as it doesn't actually do it for you, you want to pack it up and go on to a new one. Well, right now,
Sounds good to me.
I'm kind of glad that I got this up to this stage because I was getting tired of sanding body fill the last couple days. Same as I was getting tired of all the laying on my back in underneath there welding up the edge of the sill. I was getting tired of doing that too. So
what you're saying, you wasn't having fun.
Well, each step is good for a day or two, but if I had to, if I had to finish and get this body fill up to 400 grit level, I wouldn't enjoy myself in this cold weather because the putties and the things don't dry good.
That's where I'm at with Jolene's car, is the finishing touches.
Yeah, it takes a little more out of you than the.
It's not really that hard. It's not that hard to work. It's just so slow paced. You know.
Yeah.
It's so slow to make everything come to.
Yes,
where it can be painted and you'll be happy
when
with
things
it.
don't fit.
Well, I'm not saying they don't fit. I just have to make everything. You know, I can't have any pinholes. I can't have any scratches. You want all the little whip-de-doos out of it. I'm at that point.
You're forced, instead of doing the general big area, you're focusing on nitpicky little tiny miserable issues.
Right. Oh, I wanted to ask you about that that manifold.
Manifold.
You think I should that intake manifold for that Jaguar? You think I should throw that in the oven?
I've heard of those things being glued, and the only way you can soften the glue is have them super hot. And being aluminum, you can't use a torch. You need 3 cutting torches going wide open to heat the whole thing to get it up to temperature, because aluminum is like boiling water. You can't boil if you have a great big pot of water. The bottom of the water is the same temperature as the top of the water, right? Water boils at the same temperature.
Yeah.
It doesn't. You're not going to have hot water in the bottom and cold on the top. Aluminum, same way. You take a torch.
Did not know that.
You start heating up aluminum. Pull your torch away, touch it. It's ice cold. Same as over here. There's the heat.
Oh, it disperses.
It takes the heat 100% everywhere at once. So. If you're going to weld aluminum, the old school, like say you have an aluminum welding rod and a torch. Like years ago, I used to weld a little bit of aluminum with a torch. When you heat it up, the whole piece has to be at the verge of dripping for the rod to accept it. So if you're welding a little crack here,
even if you're welding like a sheet of aluminum?
Yes, the whole thing has to be equally as hot, just a degree colder than where you're heating it up, right at the verge where it's ready to take the rod and you can stir it and do your weld. The whole panel is that close to melting. So what I'm saying is that oven, or that manifold, if you heat it up to soften the glue so that part comes off, I can be wrong as far as the glue, but I have heard of some of the intake manifolds and things like that are glued. And the only way you can get that glue to soften up and deactivate is in an oven where the whole thing is up to seriously high in temperature, and then it softens the glue so that you're able to take it apart.
I haven't done anything with it. I just took the bolts off the studs.
Being aluminum means it's going to, if you heat one corner, the whole thing's going to suck every bit of that heat right away from that corner. And the whole thing has to be within a degree of the same temperature as where you're heating it.
Well, that's what I might.
So the whole thing has to be.
Maybe mess with that. I haven't messed with it since I just took the bolts off.
Do you have to take it apart?
Well, I want to fix that water.
Is there any way you can fix the water thing? I thought you were taking it apart because you had to modify something to make it fit under the hood.
No.
So you don't really have to take it apart.
Well, I don't want to put that in there and have the thermostat stuck.
No, yes. And it's weird that they glue it with the thermostat. Maybe it's just stuck from being aged. And
Well, it's got steel against aluminum, so there must be.
Yeah.
Like the studs are steel, obviously.
Like also, if you could take the studs out, that would
I was thinking
the bond.
I was thinking about that too.
But you don't want to break. You don't want to break the studs off.
Well, that's.
And those studs come off out. Actually, take the stud out before you double lock.
A nut on it.
Before you double nut it.
Yeah.
To take it out, take a hammer and whack the end of the stud a couple times, like bang, bang.
Yeah.
And that'll jar the threads.
Okay.
Or
So there's
when you tighten 2 nuts on it and tight, as you're turning the wrench with pressure to loosen the stud, tap the end of the stud with a hammer to jar the threads.
Yeah.
And that's the same thing as double hammering a nut on a seized up.
So there's a couple. So I probably should. Maybe I'll try the oven first. Try the oven first.
Well,
Just put it in the oven, heat it up.
Yes.
Try the oven first, and then I'll give it a whack with a hammer, and then I'll double nut it.
If it's rust and corrosion,
but I want to take it off.
The heat might help, but if it's glued, like if there are gasket shellacs that are stronger than steel. If it was put together with one of those, you're not taking it apart.
Well, I would
if you
think
put it in an oven and heat it up, it turns to mush, and it probably cut.
That's what I'm thinking. I'll probably put it in the oven. What degrees do you think?
Damn hot.
Damn hot. What's that?
Well, I would say.
Would you set it to temperature? What do I set it to bake at?
Well, I kind of said 300 or 450. Because
should I get it up to temperature first and then put it in, or put it in?
That doesn't really matter. It's going to have to be in there for probably an hour.
Are you serious?
Well, half an hour. I don't know. I'm not really that good in the kitchen, right? I use a microwave. But I have heard of caulkings or glues and gasket sealers so strong that you have to heat them up to soften them.
So I wouldn't dare touch it when it comes out then, because it would be damn hot.
And for a long time. But the thing, by heating the whole thing, see, if you're going to just heat that corner up, you'd need to heat the whole thing anyway.
I wouldn't
because the whole thing's going to suck the heat.
I wouldn't warp that doing that.
No, I don't think so. Because your
engine's a bit hotter than that.
It would run at 200 degrees.
Yeah.
Water, 200 degrees.
Yeah.
The intake manifold would be at close to 200 degrees.
Yeah. So would it be fair to put
the exhaust manifold?
Would it be fair to put it at 450?
Well,
you're not that good in the kitchen,
right? And just because I say this doesn't mean I'm right.
Oh no!
But I have heard of gasket shellacs being so bulletproof that you have to heat them up to make them turn soft to get things apart. And
we'll see what happens.
The temperature, a torch. If you're melting metal, what's that? 1,500 degrees to melt metal?
I'm not sure.
Like I don't know what the temperature of melted metal is.
Me neither.
Or melted aluminum is.
Me neither.
But I can guarantee you it won't melt at 300 degrees. But it might not do your thermostat any good.
I don't want the thermostat in it. I want to take it out on a new one.
But the fact that you have to, in general maintenance of a car in a lifetime, you have to replace the thermostat.
Well, I don't want it.
It's funny that they'd glue that on so that you couldn't take that off.
Well, there's gaskets there, so they must have had. I'm not sure if they glued it on or not, but I think a little bit of heat would help it. That's for sure.
But if you take the studs out, double nut them, have torque on it, and take a hammer and carefully whack the end of the stud to jar the threads, and that'll break the bond, so it should come right out.
I might go for it today.
And if the studs were out, you might be able to just tap it a little bit, and it might come out.
We got power in the house, so we're good there. We got power in the house, just got no power in the shop.
Oh, okay.
The power's all shut down.
Shut down.
We're shut down. We come out to visit you, man. I got half clean clothes on, man. Half clean.
Oh, yeah. Well, so do I, actually.
Yeah, you got some coveralls on today, Joey. Look at that. Jim's got coveralls on.
Shirt. This is my
cleanest dirty shirt.
Yeah.
I want to come over and look at the Studebaker again.
Oh,
I want that, I guess, Jimbo.
look, these even turn. Nice big antique looking nuts, aren't they?
They are. They're a lot more square. You can tell an antique nut from a.
Yeah,
There's
I
a
know.
lot more square.
They almost look like they were made in a blacksmith shop.
Are those back fenders?
Yeah, those.
Wow,
are
they're in pretty good shape.
Yep.
Yeah, this thing kind of turns my crank a little bit.
Yeah. Well,
Is this considered a flathead? What's it considered?
yes, because the valves are off to the side. All flatheads, overhead valve and flathead. Isn't that the only two that there used to be? Overhead valve, which
Yeah.
is like a Chev with the overhead valves with the push rods.
Yeah.
Well, the valves are off to the side, so therefore, yes, this is a flathead. And the steering wheel, maybe I'll do the steering wheel for you because it's in real good shape.
It is, isn't it?
And it needs to be glued back together. But I do know one thing about woodworking, wood glue. If you smear wood glue there and you push it together, then use water to wash off the wood glue will go into the wood and stain it. So what I was thinking about doing is put a light coat of varnish on it. And then let it dry, then move these clamps, and then touch up that spot. And then when I take off these slivers of wood, which the glue's dried out, when I put wood glue on it and squish it back together, since I varnished the outside, it means the wood glue, the white wood glue, won't penetrate the wood. It'll be capped on the varnish on the outside that I can wipe off with a wet rag, and it won't stain the wood.
Gotcha.
So I'm not going to worry. Like the color is dark and it's old, but if I put a flat varnish on the whole thing to seal it, and then I take it apart and glue and clamp it and wash it off, I can glue all these pieces back together. You shouldn't have to take it to a woodworking shop because I've done this kind of stuff before. But I know if I glue it together, the white glue will stain this, and if I varnish it first, it'll kind of seal it. So the white glue and a wet rag will just wipe. It'll just wipe off.
Yeah.
And then when you come and pick it up, probably towards spring, because there's no wall here. I don't want to move Studebaker, and it is kind of a hassle to bring it up through here.
Yeah.
It is possible. We could, maneuver it around. And
I've got something to do right now.
Okay.
I've got something to do.
And after that, you got something else to do.
No, but this thing is cooler than danging, I think.
I would personally I don't care what you make it into, but my actual design of preference is to have the headlights, the grille, the windshield part, and all four fenders on it. But whatever you do with the body, you can make it into an airplane if you want. I don't care. As long as it has the back fenders and the front fenders, the headlights and the cowl and the hood part, because that's what makes it. Whatever you do with this, I'm fine. But I personally like to see the fenders and the headlights and the windshield part.
I'll take that into consideration.
Like I like the fenders.
Yeah, they're in pretty good shape.
The big wheels and the fenders and the headlights and the windshield part. But the rest of this can be anything.
Yeah, it's so cool.
But anyway,
It's cool.
By letting you have it, releases any anxiety of decision making on my behalf in all directions. So, as I said, I got.
No, it turns over, does it not?
Yes, yes. And this part here, this oil filter, oil cover, was totally rotted off and fell into the oil pan. So I took it off and I made it. Like that was totally rusted off. So I took it off. The screen was broken. So all that rust went down through, broke out the brass screen that was there and dropped into the oil pan. So the oil pan should come off to be flushed out and cleaned and check the bearings. But I welded this back up so no more dirt falls down inside. And I put a screen. I put a screen back in here, and I put a stainless steel screen in there, so it won't rust. But that's all I did. Plus the hubcaps I polished up.
Well, you just keep going if you like.
No,
No,
but I'll varnish the steering wheel and glue the pieces back together, and I'll varnish it first so that the glue won't stain the wood. And then those plastic clips can come off, and we don't have to worry about losing or breaking the steering wheel any.
I see a race car in its future.
Well, good.
That's what I see.
And I personally will be more excited if it has fenders and headlights.
See what happens. See what happens.
Because they are,
They're not bad.
they're unique.
They're not bad, though, are they?
No.
They're not bad. Old cars. I love old cars. I love old cars. I love working on them more. The seats are cool.
Yeah, you can take those.
Oh, thank you.
You can have them to do.
They'll actually make the look of the car,
Well, they could have gone in a different direction, but how do you do that? It's kind of like
They're going in the right spot.
it kind of reminds me. We have seatbelt laws, but school buses still don't have seatbelts.
Isn't that so?
School buses should have had seatbelts long before it was ever a law that a car has seatbelts.
You would think.
All along. For the last 50, 70 years, school buses should have had seatbelts. No standing up in a school bus. Well, these seats could have gone to Grampy's old car, but due to different ideas of what life's about, they're going to you, whether you use them or not.
I think I'll use them. I like them. I think they make the car.
Well, this one swivels backwards.
Yeah.
Sit backwards if you want.
I mean, that style of seat, that's cool. I don't even know if I'd, they're cool.
Actually, the leather, you could even leave it rustic.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm a-liking.
Anyway, I'm happy with where I'm at with so far on this.
Well, if you're happy, I'm happy.
Now, when the fenders are up on the bench and you're looking at them and you see all the scratches and the slight low spots, I feel like going over and mixing up more body fill. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I do. I do. I know what you're saying. It'll be all right, though.
It looks like it's plenty good enough for it could use a thin coat over the whole thing for scratches and just final, but it also could use several coats of that high build primer too.
I would go with that primer before I coat it with anything. That's why I like. That's why I don't like
coating. You go right back to the first coat. Every time it's sloppy, just like that cement floor finish compared to finished product.
Yeah.
Because it's almost finished, and then when you put body fill on it, you can put it on. Doesn't matter how smooth you put it on; it's still.
You're
rough.
going back through it.
And
then
you're going back to roughness.
You may as well put primer on it to be there.
Yeah.
Good primer. If you put, say, 5 coats of primer on it.
High build.
High build.
Yeah, and then block it down. It's done.
Yeah, you'd be done. And
Well, yeah, you've explained that very clearly, because I know if you send that down to 220, you're way too low, and the metal's going to bulge up, and you ruined your job.
And you start getting wavy.
Yeah.
You start polishing and that sort of stuff, and you start feeling waviness in it. Your paper's not real sharp.
Yeah. And it's hard to guide, but with the primer, it's easy.
Yeah.
Or easier, anyway. Well,
all right, everybody, have a great one. We're just at Jimbo's doing the old chat and talk. And Jolene's with us. She's looking amazing today, as always. And we want to thank everybody for coming back. But it's always good to come out and talk to Jimbo and check out his project. We've been watching him. Also, Jimbo has a YouTube station, and they've been posting it on our page. And Jimbo's here right now. You have a YouTube station, and what's the name of it?
As far as I know, it's my name, 2826.
Jimbo? Not Jimbo.
Get you there. Yeah.
Jim Patterson.
Yeah. Yeah.
2826.
Yeah, I believe so, because when I bring it up, that's what it says.
How many people does he have to get before he monetizes?
1,000.
He needs 1,000 subscribers. So let's get him 1,000 subscribers so we can get himself monetized.
I got 200 or 300.
Well, we need 1,000
Yeah.
to monetize. Is what I'm telling you. We could. There's quite a few.
I try every other day. I'm putting a video on.
Yeah. Awesome.
It on my computer in the evening. It takes hours for it to happen. A 10-minute video takes 3 hours to download.
Well, there you go. That's working. He's working out in the shop
now
and working at the computer.
Day, it might be a little quicker.
So if we can get him 1,000 subscribers, he might be able to monetize and see where it goes from there. All right, everybody. Have a great one. Jim Patterson at 2826.
He said it.